WOCA.
WOCA.
All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this beautiful Friday morning, the Friday before Mother's Day. And I mention that because it does kind of play a role in what we're about to speak about. We're about to speak about parents, actually, and what happens when the children are no longer little ones and they move on out. Robin, I think we've talked about this before, where when you were of age to move out, and I remember this when I was of age to move out. I got on a plane actually, and I went out to L.A. And
cool.
Somebody told me later. Now, my father was he was a World War II vet. He was a former New York City police officer, and he was a tough guy. Is what I'm trying to illustrate here. And so I didn't see him cry when I got on the airplane. Mm-hmm. But later, when I got to California, I phoned back home. I said, I got home, and one of my friends said, your father was crying. Oh my gosh, my father was crying.
He loves you.
I know. So I didn't really grasp it until years later, when my son decided to go to Embry-Riddle University.
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, the house was so empty, and I just felt so. I was not one of those parents who said, I can't wait till he's 18 and moves out.
Yeah.
I was like, you can live here the rest of your life.
That's right.
I really, honestly, it's always the way I felt. And I know you feel the same way. And you are about to head to New York tomorrow morning to see TJ, your son,
Yep.
living up in New Jersey. And I'm sure the empty nest for you happened when he first moved out. And then even though he wasn't living at home, did you feel it again when he moved out of state?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I sure did.
All right. So we know this feeling, and yet there's a way to perhaps deal with it. And maybe we have our own stories of how we've done that. Wendy R. Aronsson is on the phone. Wendy, you're listening in, and I know we're going to speak to you in just a minute. She is a licensed psychotherapist, and so maybe we could benefit from her. We can share our thoughts on this. She's an active charter member of the special education section of the Greenwich, Connecticut Parent-Teacher Association. Mm-hmm. She developed and facilitated the Learning Differences Network, and her book is called Refeathering the Empty Nest, Life After the Children Leave. Wendy Aronsson. Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. Where are you calling from?
Calling from Greenwich, Connecticut, where it is not sunny. It is rainy and awful out. So lucky you with the sun shining.
Oh, Robin's bringing some sunshine. She'll be up. She'll be up your way in less than 12 hours.
That's right.
Okay, Robin. I'm counting on it.
Well, less than 24 hours, I should say.
Yeah.
Okay, the timer's on.
So are you an empty nester?
I am an empty nester, and I was chuckling when hearing your story, actually, because that is so much, throughout the book, it's interwoven with people's experiences of their leaving the nest versus their children leaving the nest.
Yeah.
And your story is not so unusual.
I bet.
I, too, my mother and father waved to me, goodbye, see ya, and off they went. Today, it's a very different story and a very different feeling.
What do you mean? What's different?
Well, I think we are more involved parents, and I think we're very different parents than we were. I think, I coined in the book such a thing as called precision parenting, which I differentiate between helicopter parenting, which I'm sure you all and many of your listeners are aware of. Helicopter parenting, kind of hovering, doing things for the children, whereas precision parenting is a more mindful, strategic, thoughtful way of approaching parenting. So our generation, or this generation, brings to it a set of understanding and knowledge of wanting to approach parenting in the way perhaps they approached a college major or their first career. And therefore, they take their parenting, and not to say our parents and the parents before that didn't take it seriously, they just approach it very differently.
So when we speak about parenting, are we talking about from birth on or from empty nest period on?
Both.
Okay.
I mean, I see it in my office and just see it just generationally very, very different. I mean, comparatively, husbands were not in the birthing room when our parents gave birth. I mean, from the moment go to applying for in vitro and going through those steps or, adoption. And oftentimes people are much older having children, and therefore their partners are really just that, partners in the entire process from the beginning.
And maybe part of that is reflected in the language that is used, and I really disagree with this. And it's when a man says, "We're pregnant." It's like, no. Wait a minute now. That's not right.
Oh, but it is. They are. Hopefully, you know what, you laugh, but you see, I don't disagree with that, and I'll tell you why, because hopefully they are pregnant too. They might not feel exactly what the women feel, but hopefully they're in it.
But isn't the word
110%. Their bodies don't change.
Yeah. Well,
they're just happy they're having the baby.
Oh, and isn't this a good? I mean, isn't it a good thing though? Ultimately, whether you agree with the word or not, isn't it a good thing that you have two people ready to bring somebody into the world, and they want this, and they love this.
Oh, yes.
They both want it.
And you know what? I mean, the news makes it seem like most people are bad, period, let alone parents. Most parents are bad. But the truth is they're not. Most young people that I know, I've got nephews. My son is married, and one day he'll be a parent. Mm-hmm. And Robin's children both are married, and one day they'll be parents. All of them that I'm naming are outstanding. They're going to be great parents, or they already are great parents.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I think you go into it, I think there's so much focus on the parent who is not good. I think people go into it hoping they will be the best parents that they can be. And it doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that we don't look back and wish we would have done something differently. And it doesn't mean we can't learn and evolve into being the best parent we can be. Conversely, children are not bad children. They're not like brought into this world and all of a sudden they're bad. They're good. They want to be good, and they want to be loved and adored and taken care of.
So what do you mean by refeathering? What is this? Is this a way to fill the empty space that we feel?
Yes, and hopefully it's not empty. Hopefully I see it as evolving rather than empty. So it's, your life is changing, your landscape is changing, and change doesn't mean bad. It just means different. And hopefully you're able to, if you look at life like a patchwork pillow, if you were, and raising your children were front and center patch, that you are able to fill this time in your life with other patches of various colors and texture, and all these fibers are interwoven, so that really this time is a time of hopefully opportunity. Doesn't mean there aren't challenges, doesn't mean there aren't bumps along the road and difficulties, because there are, but it also doesn't mean that this can't be a wonderful time in all of our lives.
So how about the man and the woman? Should they just cleave onto each other and then they just do things together constantly, or should if a woman has an interest and a man has an interest that's not each other's, should they go out and do things separately? How do they react to something like this?
Well, I think everybody reacts very differently. I don't think there really is a perfect recipe. I don't think that anybody attached at the hip is going to do anybody any good. So that I think there's balance in this and moderation. So hopefully the couple will be able to find things together to enjoy as well as individuals. Because if you're not, nurturing and fulfilling yourself individually, you're not bringing a whole lot to the marriage either. So it really is both.
Do you know what I always hoped? You said the evolving nest, and I'm going to take a crack at pretending I know what that means, and maybe you can correct me. But I okay, like a TV sitcom. A TV sitcom, you would have the children that grow up, they move out, but they're always in there. They're coming over all the time. They don't knock on the door. They just walk in. They open the refrigerator. The grandkids come in, and I've always thought that's what I want. I want the door unlocked. I want the kids just to come in. I don't care how old they are. I don't care if I'm asleep. I want that's what I want. That's what I envisioned when I heard you say evolving nest. Am I accurate?
Well, for you, it's accurate. I think that's a wonderful thing to want, and I would love to be able to have the privilege of having my children settle near me as well and have that freedom and closeness that you describe. But I think the evolving nest is more than that. I think it involves every aspect of your life. So you're really at the same time developing yourself, hopefully. You may be developing your career even more or going in another career direction. You may be pursuing hobbies with your spouse, if you have a spouse. If you don't, pursuing hobbies or pursuing love interests. So all of those things, it's evolving. It's kind of like, if you could think of when you either bought your first house or moved into your first house, let's say it that way, moved into your first house, the house was not furnished. You had to get piece by piece by piece, and it evolved. It became your home.
Right. That's a good way to illustrate it, yeah.
So the same thing happens. The home is still your home, but it needs to be reconfigured to fit you, and if you have a spouse, your spouse's lifestyle.
Well, a good parent has always been there for the children, guiding the children throughout their life, supporting them and everything. But now when the children are gone, how do they make that shift to guide and support themselves? Because sometimes once you feel you don't have a purpose in life, you become lackadaisical about yourself.
That does happen. It's really important, I guess I would look at it twofold. One is that even when you're a parent and even when you're, your children are front and center, that you can't lose, that it's important not to lose yourself within that context. Being a good parent or the best parent that you can be takes a lot of energy. We all know that. But it's not everything that you are. It's not the entire story. So throughout, even when they're young, when it's more challenging, developing yourself and keeping yourself in the mix is a challenge. If somehow that has been put on the back burner, which oftentimes it does, Robin, as you say, stopping and taking a look and thinking about what gives you pleasure, what gives you satisfaction and enjoyment. And it doesn't mean your whole life has to center around, you and your enjoyment, but simply that things that are fulfilling to you. And if people find it very, very challenging and lackadaisical, I'll go the other extreme and say either depressed or, difficulty just functioning, then that's time to check in with a mental health professional such as myself or a clergyman or somebody who really has another set of eyes and ears to help through this process.
And gosh, you took me right where I wanted to go with the psychotherapist part of your credentials, because I wondered how many. I haven't done this myself, and Robin hasn't done this, but I've known. Let's see, a family in New York has the bedroom the woman I know used to sleep in when she was a child, still there and still waiting. Like if she ever wants to come home, and she's got to be 57 years old by now.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. I often thought, wow, this is crazy. How come your mom and dad never undid your room? Oh, they like it. It's like a museum piece.
Oh, geez.
Well, it's a big enough house. They can afford a room that's not really being used anymore.
You know what? Even if it's not, I think that speaks volumes. It reminds me of a couple, and I'm going to try to say this delicately on air, who came to me for marital therapy, and their romantic life was really impacted when they had their children. You can read between the lines, listeners, and yourselves. So the husband just kind of threw up his hands and say, "I just don't get it." And when I started digging, deeper with what was going on in the marriage, the husband says, "Well, our son crawls out of his crib into our bed, and there he is every night." And I said, "Well, tell me, how old is your son?" He said, 2.5. And I said, "Oh, and we're still nursing him." I said, "Oh, okay." So, one has to really take a cold, hard look, because clearly if you're nursing your child and the child's coming into the bedroom at night, it is going to impact many areas of your marriage.
Sure, yeah.
So one really has to look to your story of, what are you holding on to and what is the purpose you're holding on to? And that's not an easy look. Sometimes you do need a professional, such as myself or other people, to really help you see why you're holding on and what's getting in your way of letting go.
So when a psychotherapist writes a book, like the one you've written, Refeathering the Empty Nest, people will pick up this book because they need the information from a professional like yourself. So are you finding, has the book been out long enough that you're getting feedback from people who are at that moment, like the moment I described when I left, or when my son went to Embry-Riddle University, or when Robinson moved? Is it at that crucial moment right there where we need to say, I don't know, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling...
Something.
Yeah, I'm feeling beside... My mom used to use the expression, I feel beside myself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think people are picking it up. Yes, it's out, actually, in answer to your question. And it's only been out a very short time. But people are picking it up and at different stages. So some of the feedback I am hearing is how useful it is. It's not a how-to. It also talks about, other people's experiences, and they are vast and varied, and there's no one right way to go through this. And it is a life, it's a process. It's a milestone. There are people who pick it up and find it useful prior to launching or their youngest child. Someone just read it who is a beauty blogger whom said, boy, I wish I had it when I was going through this, which was only 3 years ago. But it resonated for her. So I'm hoping it resonates in one way or another for the person who's anticipating this, as well as the person who has gone through it, to say, oh, yeah, I remember that, or, oh, yeah, I felt that, or, again, hopefully there'll be some takeaway for them.
In your book, you not only tried to describe the way the human parents feel, but you also use animals
Yes.
in your descriptions.
Yes, I did. And it was really to illustrate, actually, how humans feel. So to break it down, it was, the stunned deer who, as you can imagine, is so concerned and upset and anxious that they don't know which way to go. And then there's that eager beaver parent whom, studies and takes on their child leaving as if it was their next career. So, they have checklists, and many of us know a lot of people like that, that they have really done everything to professionalize, if you will, their child's going off to college. And then there is the hummingbird who is so anxious and keeping themselves so busy to avoid feeling what they're feeling. They're flitting around, round and round, circle and circle, and they don't give themselves a chance to think or feel. And these different animals, much like our feelings, are very fluid. So you can go from, one animal to the next. And also, people experience it in different degrees. There's not just, you can have a little hummingbird-esque kind of feeling, if you will, and a little stunned deer-esque. I mean, when your last child graduates, you might pinch yourself, from college, and you might pinch yourself and say, I can't believe I'm at this stage. Or gets married, in your cases, both of your cases.
If we really are affected by the empty nest time of our lives when the children are gone. Now, it's been a while for me, so I'm over it, and I think Rob is pretty much over it. But you know what? Okay, this is maybe a sensitive question, but when we talk about this time of period, you talk about the hummingbird. The way I see that in humanity is vices and money. Because men, for example, and don't get me wrong, but men will seek out sex. It's a crazy thing, but they will. And maybe it's illegal, maybe it's immoral, maybe it's unethical, but they will. Or they'll drink, another vice. And women will drink a lot. I don't think women.
Yeah.
I don't think women are. I don't think women are whoring around or anything.
Well, some do.
You never know.
Okay,
you never know.
Okay,
some do.
But are those
right.
are those our elixirs, so to speak?
I will rephrase that and use it as coping mechanisms.
Okay.
so perhaps like the hummingbird, those are things to dull the feelings that they are avoiding. I mean, sex can be, or if they're not having sex with their partner and they're going outside of the marriage, this would be one symptom of, it could be of many things, either marital issues or self-esteem issues, of where they are in their lives, their careers, etc. Excessive drinking, excessive anything really can be a way of avoiding feelings and a substance.
This is why God made model trains, so that men would say, "You know what? I'm gonna divert my energy to a model train." You ever see these guys, right? The children have moved out of the house. They never had a train in the house when the kids were little, right? All of a sudden, they got this extra room. You know what I'm going to use this room for, honey? A model train.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to build it.
That's very funny. That is one way to deal with it. I mean, everybody does. They don't always go to extremes either. Sometimes they'll feel it and they'll have a phase that is difficult. But it doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to, do all of these destructive or not particularly constructive things, if you will.
Yeah. Hobbies can be an expensive thing. And real quickly, one more thing that you do touch on in the book is when the empty nest is suddenly not empty anymore. All the kids move home. Somebody gets divorced or they lose a job or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. The boomerang child. And that's the one who comes home and either can't find a job or can't sustain their independent life, and they have to move home. And the parents have, at that point, hopefully, reconfigured their nest and has kept it evolving, but evolving around them and where they are in their life. And the challenge there is figuring out what this rhythm is going to be like with their young adult who's used to living on their own, coming back into the nest, and what it's like for both the young adult, keeping communication open, what your expectations are, and reminding the young adult that this is not their dorm room or their apartment, and, being very, very clear that there are certain limits and expectations.
And that's really one of the key things. The parents can't just cave, because everybody goes through a hard time, but sometimes the people that are going through a hard time, they just have total disregard for the living arrangements and the respect that they should show the other adults in the house.
That's right. So it's really being very clear. And even though your young adult may be coming back and they are young adults at this point, they still are your children. You still are their parents. And it really beckons for you as parent to parent differently and mindfully, knowing that your young adult is coming back to you in a different way, as a different person than when he or she left.
Wendy, this has been a great conversation, fun and just and stimulating and just a good conversation. The book is called Refeathering the Empty Nest. Let me give away the copy that Wendy sent us. The rest of us have to go buy it. So if you want the copy I have, call me at 622-9622 right now. We'll leave it on the desk. It'll be waiting for you. And Wendy, do you have a website?
I do. It's Wendy Aronsson, LCSW.
And let me spell that if you don't mind. Wendy.
AR.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you can do
Go
it.
for it.
Well, let me just tell you, Robin already made it easy. Actually, Robin made it easy. She put your website on the WOCA.com website. So it's Wendy, ARONS, another S, ON, and then LCSW. What does that stand for?
It's a licensed social work, psychiatric social work.
Okay. How does psychiatric end up?
Sorry?
LCSW. How does psychiatric end up in there?
LC, licensed clinical social work.
I got you. Clinical.
I think and then there are so many with lots of initials, but you all are a blast.
You are too. You are too. We'd be friends if we lived in the neighborhood. We'd be over there having coffee.
We would be.
I'd be playing with your husband's model trains or something.
Yeah, that's right.
I want you to know he doesn't have model trains, but there are different things that he does.
Wendy, thank you. Fun interview, and definitely good luck with everything. And you're always welcome back. Always welcome back.
Thank you. And you're always welcome to call on any topic that I can help out with. Give me a shout.
Excellent. Thank you for that as well. All right, we will take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. A first for Crimea since its annexation by Russia. A visit by President Vladimir Putin.
He applauded Crimeans' decision, saying they're now one with Russia. Putin's visit comes as he suggested to rebel leaders here in Donetsk that they delay a vote planned for Sunday where residents will decide whether to secede from Ukraine.
Fox Radio's Jessica Gallagher in Donetsk, Ukraine. Meanwhile, at least 3 people reported dead in fighting in an eastern Ukrainian city. More rough weather could be in store for parts of the country's midsection, a day after parts of the south are slammed by storms. In southern Dallas, this witness saw 5 kids caught in a rapidly filling creek.
They were all huddled together. They were holding on to a branch. They lost their grip. And then they all broke apart and they started to float down the creek.
They were rescued by police and fire crews. And today is Military Spouse Appreciation Day. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Make your small business even smarter with ADT Security Services. Through June 1st, get $250 instant savings on select ADT business packages. Improve your operations with 24/7 burglary monitoring, remote climate and lighting control, secure real-time video, and more. So call ** ADT from your cell phone. That's ** 238. ADT. Our business is helping your business. 36-month monitoring contract required. For applicable terms and conditions, visit ADT.com. Florida EF 0001121.
And now, another golf confessional brought to you by Golfsmith. Recently, a man told us he'd finally learned to deal with his anthropophobia, an overwhelming fear of other people. How? He went to Golfsmith and got the Nike VRS Covert 2.0 driver with its high-speed cavity-back design. Now he hits the ball so far, he doesn't have to be around anyone on the course. You don't need a psychological disorder to get the Nike VRS Covert 2.0 driver. You just need to go to Golfsmith. Anything.
Hi, this is Sam Roberts with Air Ducts Heating and Air. I've been in the air conditioning business for years, but just recently my wife and I decided to open our own business. It's a difficult economic environment, but praise God, we've been doing just fine. And I'd like to take this time to thank all of my customers. I'd also like to invite you to give Air Ducts Heating and Air a try. You see, I don't have the high overhead of having 30 trucks on the road, dozens of employees, etc. And that means I can give you the absolute lowest rock bottom price on your new AC system. When you call Air Ducts Heating and Air,
304-6766. That's 304-6766.
I personally will come to your home and give you a free, no obligation in-home estimate. Air Ducts Heating and Air is a family-owned and operated business, and it'll be our pleasure to help keep your family comfortable.
Call today, 304-6766. That's 304-6766.
Call today for your free in-home estimate. License number CAC 1817288.
It's time to get those DIY projects started, and right now at the DIY Home Center outlet in Ocala, you get laminate flooring starting at just 99 cents a square foot, and that includes the pad. We've got hundreds of rolls of carpet and vinyl at discount closeout prices. Kitchen need an update? 3 lines of all-wood cabinets in stock to save you up to 50% on all-wood custom kitchens, and the largest selection of mobile home parts in Ocala. We are your building material closeout store. 2191 Northwest 10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
All right, thank you. It is, what time is it, Robin? It's 3 minutes after 11 o'clock.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in, and I want to tell you about a friend of mine. Are you ready for my story about my friend?
Okay.
All right, my friend is an Italian. All right, now that's an important part of this story because as an Italian, he was an American Italian. He grew up in New York, California, and later on in Florida. And his mother would always make the best lasagna. Okay, I mean really good lasagna with really good cheese and really good meat, right?
Yeah.
My friend fell in love with a vegetarian, and she made lasagna using tofu.
Yes.
Okay, now he was head over heels. He was like Woody Allen and Annie Hall. Okay?
Oh, okay.
All right. I mean, well, I know Woody Allen. He's like Woody Allen and Diane Keaton in Annie Hall.
Yeah.
Let me say it that way. Okay. They were. So they invite me over for lunch. This is early in their dating days. This is years and years and years ago. And his wife brings, and he says to me, oh, you know what? She's making lasagna. Oh, I love lasagna. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been at his house when his mom made lasagna.
Yes.
So here comes his new girlfriend, and she brings out this lasagna, right? And it looks delicious, right? And we start eating it, and I say, What's in it? You know, when she's in the kitchen when she can't hear us?
Yeah.
Oh, she likes tofu. She's a vegetarian. Isn't it great? No. No, it's not great. Not only is it not great, but you're lying to me. I see exactly what has happened here.
Yes.
You are head over heels in love with her. She could have put anything on that plate, and you would have said, this is so good.
Yeah.
This is so good. Well, the same thing happened to our next guest, I believe. Now, I'm not saying that the recipe I'm about to tell you is no good, because I don't know.
Yeah.
The book is called Eating Well, Living Better, The Grassroots Gourmet Guide to Good Health and Great Food. It is written by our guest, Dr. Michael S. Fenster, and he has been here to Florida, Robin.
Nice.
And he has a recipe in here that was inspired by the mermaids at WikiWatchy.
Oh, cool.
So thus made me think, because this recipe includes pine nuts.
Oh, okay.
I had pine nuts one time. Every time I burped, I felt like I had eaten a tree.
From the grocery store, yeah.
But you know, those mermaids, they will make you think.
Yes.
You know, a mermaid. I'm having fun, of course. Dr. Michael Fenster. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, Larry Robin. Great to be with you. And as for your first story with the lasagna, you know, I think the best response is appropriately to quote Meatloaf and say, "I do anything for love, but I won't do that."
Oh, very good, very good.
Perfect.
Well, you've got a wonderful book, and we've spoken to many people who've written like health diet books, or what do you want to say, recipe books. But yours is different. You've got a different spin to it.
Well, I do. You know, actually, before I went to medical school, I cooked professionally. I have a culinary degree, so really, you know, I approach this from the aspect of a chef, a food lover, the food experience. You know, too often I think we're focused on the quantities of the foods or the calories we eat, or looking for this superfood or that superfood, and we don't expand to understand that, you know, the diet, and I don't mean a weight loss diet, but the diet of meaning the foods that we eat, is a very important experiential experience, and affects us and our health on so many levels. You talk about healthful eating, you know, the Mediterranean diet. Again, really the only diet that's ever been shown to be have really hard endpoints in terms of healthful outcomes. It's high in salt, it's high in fat, but they also eat, you know, 3-4 hours a day, you know, taking long lunch and long dinner. So their approach to food is very different.
Yeah, and it seems to make a big difference with the obesity issue. I've often wondered about that.
Yeah, well, it does, and obviously there's an activity level that's a component of it. So there's a lot of things that are playing into diabetes and obesity, these epidemics that we're experiencing. And again, you know, it's a lot of things. Most people don't realize that simply not getting the correct amount of proper sleep each day is a risk factor as potent, if not in some studies more potent, than the amount of calories you consume each day.
So when I was focusing on the WikiWatchy recipe, you have pine nuts in there. So and forgive me for being silly on you like that. But I've had pine nuts, but only by themselves, almost like a snack.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the truth, it did leave me with some burps later on that tasted like I had eaten a tree. I'm guessing that when you mix it in with the recipe, though, it's not the same as taking a handful, right?
It's not. People do use pine nuts, you know, in and of themselves as a snack. They're a great healthy snack. They're high in fats, which is why we use them in the recipe, but they're full of those good kind of fats, and they add a great flavor. I mean, there's a particular Italian Christmas cookie that comes out that's made specifically with toasted pine nuts. And in the WikiWatchy recipe, we use it, our tail-inspired WikiWatchy recipe, we use it to make a sort of pesto.
Where are you right now? Where are you calling from?
I am calling, and I appreciate the hometown love. I'm in the Spring Hill area, and actually I'll be leaving next week to spend about 4 or 5 weeks teaching and lecturing in Europe. We'll be talking about teaching cooking and lecturing on the Mediterranean diet.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, really?
Is labeling true to form when you go to grocery stores? And I mean, the government is hammering companies to put labels on, and then they're hammering people to look at the labels. Is it just so frustrating that we should just buy what we like?
Well, I think what we need to do, one of the dangers of the current labeling practices with its emphasis on calories, and actually my new book, The Fallacy of the Calorie, which will be out this fall, really speaks to this and some of the problems of the modern Western diet, is that we can end up just focusing simply on the quantity of calories or the how many of the item is in the package and not really focusing on the quality of the food. And it's the quality of our food that is really the driver in terms of the benefits or the ill effects we suffer with our health.
So my reference to tofu, I know you use tofu in some of your recipes. My story was probably 30 years old or more. Mm-hmm. So has tofu improved?
No, unfortunately not really. I love tofu. I have a vast exposure to Japan and that Eastern culture from my youth. So, if you will, I kind of grow up eating tofu, but as long as you know how to incorporate it, it can be quite delicious. It's kind of a chameleon. It doesn't really have a flavor of its own, but when you can combine it with spicy sauces or stronger flavor, it tends to take on those characteristics. And again, depending how you prepare it, you can have the right consistency for the meal. I don't think it really, in my estimation, a traditional lasagna with fresh tomatoes, bought at a farmer's market, you make the sauce, grass-fed, pasture-raised, ground beef that's actually done right here fairly locally in Florida. The pasta made from semolina durum and ancient grains of wheat, fresh ricotta cheese that you just made from whole milk. That is a wonderfully delicious and incredibly healthful meal.
How does that affect the person's system? Say, like you're brought up on certain foods and things, and you're not eating organic, but you're eating pasteurized milk and things like that. And then all of a sudden you want to go organic and drink the milk without the stuff in it. Does your body react to that, and is that a bad thing?
Well, I think it does. There's the food affects us two ways, and really a lot of what I'll talk about in a second, we're just beginning to learn. Food obviously affects us directly, and most people get that. But what we're really learning, and again, I speak a lot of it, and it's one of sort of the foundation points of the upcoming book, is that food also affects us indirectly by affecting our gut bacteria. Now, you have about 10 times as many bacterial cells living in your gut, in your colon, than you do the cells that make up your own body. And they provide you with energy each day. They make certain compounds that can be healthful or can lead to the development of certain disease states, particularly diseases that are associated with inflammation, which is kind of becoming a medical buzzword.
The fact that you're a cardiologist, I'm curious for somebody who's listening who may be, seeing a cardiologist or having some heart issues or concerned that they don't want to develop them because they know that it's in their family history. Would these recipes and the approach that you outline in the book be beneficial specifically in regarding your heart?
Well, yes, and the approach, which in the upcoming book that'll be out this fall, The Fallacy of the Calorie, we have a sort of 30-day program to make a transition from what most people eat in this country, the modern Western diet or the standard American diet, or simply the SAD diet, as it's known, to a more healthful approach. And really, the root of the cardiovascular disease is the same as diabetes. It's the same as Alzheimer's. It's the same as inflammatory bowel disease. It's this chronic, unyielding, continuous low-level inflammation. And so the approach that I outline is really aimed at the base commonality of all these diseases, not just cardiovascular disease.
Again, the book is called Eating Well, Living Better. It is written by Dr. Michael S. Fenster, who's on the phone, and he's a board-certified cardiologist, if I didn't already mention that. He's a former assistant professor of medicine at the NUCOM. What is that? The NUCOM?
Neo-UCOM. That's Ohio College of Medicine.
Oh, okay. You're a teacher, and you're going to Europe. Now, this is interesting because Europeans look at us and say we don't know how to eat. So how are they going to receive you? They're going to say, "Well, you're telling us how to eat?"
Well, I'm sharing with them, some things and some experiences and some data because, unfortunately, our country's greatest export seems to be our horrible diet. So, 30 years ago when I first went to Japan, I happened to be there when they opened, the very first McDonald's, and the lines were around the corner, and the people looked healthy. Young people didn't have acne, etc. I go there now. There's a fast food restaurant, on every corner, the equivalent of 7-Elevens, and everybody looks looks like an American. They're overweight, they're obese, their
that
skin
says-
is horrible.
That says volumes. Okay.
Yeah, so going over to Europe and sharing with them that, hey, don't necessarily take our approach. You guys have some important points here, and here's why.
Wow.
That said volumes.
cool.
I never knew that. I never heard that story or something similar. I have a copy of the book. I will give it away right now. Call me if you want the copy that Dr. Fenster sent us. 622-WOCA is the phone number. That's the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline. Dr. Fenster, do you have a website?
Yes, www.whatscookingwithdoc.com, and they can follow us on Facebook, and we'll be posting from Europe if I can figure out how to do the video starting next week.
Oh, I'm sure you'll figure it out. Well, we will be following you. Thank you for being on the air with us. Are you on Facebook?
Yes, we are, at What's Cooking with Doc. So just type that in and follow us on Facebook.
All right, I'll be doing that before we get off the air today. Doctor, thank you. Be careful in Europe, and thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
Thank you, guys. Wonderful.
All right,
We'll join you. Bye-bye.
We'll take a break and be right back.
Habitat for Humanity of Marion County is a ministry dedicated to improving lives by providing affordable and decent housing. Help them help others by visiting the Habitat for Humanity Ocala Restore at 926 Northwest 27th Avenue. To schedule a donation, give us a call at 401-0075 and we'll come pick it up. For more information, visit ocalarestore.org. Habitat for Humanity of Marion County. Building homes, building hope, building community.
Yes, George.
Guess what I have?
Could it be the free truck used from Devon Self-Storage on 200 across from Hobby Lobby?
Yola!
Yes. Now, don't forget to bring it back when you're done to Devon Self-Storage.
Yes, Alice. I'll even remember to call them at 873-0777 to make sure they'll remember me.
George, I'm sure they'll remember you.
Thanks, Alice.
Oh, George.
Attention passengers for Flight 1370. The plane has been delayed at its departure point and will be at least 2 hours late. We apologize for any inconvenience.
Are you serious? It took us over an hour to get here, 2 hours going through security and getting our tickets, and now we have to wait another 2 hours.
Yeah, it's beautiful here, but we're inside this overcrowded airport all day because the plane is stuck in bad weather.
This is the last time we ever do this. When we get back, we're going to Ocala Aviation and getting our pilot's license.
Yeah, we've been talking about that long enough. It's about time we did it. Then we could just fly ourselves and never have to deal with this mess again.
Right. No long lines, no full body groping security, no baggage checks.
Not to mention never losing your luggage. Remind me again why we haven't done that?
Well, we're idiots.
Oh, right.
Attention all passengers for Flight 1370. It looks like the plane is going to be delayed a little bit longer. The airline has lost the pilot's luggage. Isn't it time you got your pilot's license? Call Ocala Aviation today. 352-861-7484. That's 352-861-7484. Hey, you've earned it. Call today.
It's time to get those DIY projects started, and right now at the DIY Home Center outlet in Ocala, you get laminate flooring starting at just 99 cents a square foot, and that includes the pad. We've got hundreds of rolls of carpet and vinyl at discount closeout prices. Kitchen need an update? 3 lines of all-wood cabinets in stock to save you up to 50% on all-wood custom kitchens, and the largest selection of mobile home parts in Ocala. We are your building material closeout store. 2191 Northwest 10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, a new spoiler, and a new
Yep,
trunk.
we can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too, huh?
Well, as a matter of fact, join me every Monday at 10 for auto repair with personal care here on The Source.
Of course you do.
The Bridge at Ocala will be holding a charity raffle night on May 15th from 7 until 9 p.m. Proceeds will support Habitat for Humanity of Marion County. It's a fun-filled evening with entertainment, hors d'oeuvres, and beverages, and your participation will be greatly appreciated. Currently, we're seeking donations for the raffle: gift certificates, electronics, gift baskets, spa and beauty services, pretty much anything you would like to donate. Call Lori at 352-873-2036 for more information or pledge a donation. Help us help Habitat for Humanity.
Black Cow composted cow manure is a terrific organic soil amendment. We start with cow manure from dairy farms and then compost it a full 90 days. The result is an all-natural, dark, rich soil amendment that's great for everything you grow. Flowers, vegetables, shrubs, trees, and lawns too. Look for Black Cow in the bright yellow and black bag at your favorite nursery or garden center.
Black Cow, the mature manure. Black Cow.
Attention WOCA listeners, the travel industry is being turned on its head as over 50,000 individuals are saving 50 to 90% off the best internet prices. There is 10 simple steps to create your perfect vacation and save 50 to 90% off your travel expenses by visiting vacationresortnetwork.com. That's www.vacationresortnetwork.com. vacationresortnetwork.com.
How good does it get?
Golf has long been considered to be sport's most prestigious game, and WOCA has your connection to everything in the golf world. Every first and third Thursday at 10 a.m., tune in for Let's Talk Golf with your host, PGA professional and teacher to the stars, Jim Beckett, and operations manager for the Links of Spruce Creek South, Darren Irwin, right here on The Source.
This is Wendy and Will of Dex Imaging. By now, you might be tired of hearing us talk about Dex. So instead of us telling you how much Dex can save you on your copier costs and how we can help your office be more efficient, we thought we'd let Judy tell you.
Hi, I'm Judy, the office manager of Graper Facial Institute here in Gainesville. We operate 8 medical offices, so I was looking for a document management system that would copy, scan, print, and share documents among all of our locations, but something that was within our budget. Dex Imaging recommended a Kyocera with their Index solution. It's been amazing. This machine does everything we need it to, including a direct scan into our current electronic medical record software. Dex even trained us on how to use it. Dex has been a tremendous help in making our practice and my job more efficient.
Thanks, Judy. And remember, call Dex Imaging today for a free workflow analysis to find out how you can save 20 to 30% on your copying and document management needs, just like Graper Facial Institute. Dex Imaging, 352-224-1816. That's 224-1816.
Thank you. 22 minutes after 11 o'clock. Nice looking Friday morning. Robert, can you imagine this as an opening scene to a movie? Imagine that there's a man driving a truck, an old pickup truck, something you'd see on a dirt road in some old movie, right? Uh-huh. And sitting on the bench seat by the passenger window is a young boy, right?
Yes.
And the young boy is the grandson of the man driving the truck, and the grandfather is telling the son these amazing stories of what he did when he was a younger man, and then of course the film, you're watching a movie here, and it goes back in time to the things that are being talked about, because they are in fact real things that the man has gone through.
Yeah.
And he's not making them up, but he's a wonderful storyteller, and I'm imagining, I don't know how old Dale Brown is, but he's on the phone and he's got a list of credentials that, oh my goodness, anybody who is a friend or related to him must be so super proud. He's a former U.S. Air Force captain. He was a navigator bombardier in the B-52G Stratofortress heavy bomber. I'm reading, so forgive me if I'm mispronouncing these things. And the FB-111A supersonic medium bomber. He's an instructor on aircrew life support. How about that? Combat survival. How about some stories coming out of that? He's the recipient of the Air Force Commendation Medal with the Oak Leaf Cluster and the Combat Crew Award. He's got a marksmanship ribbon.
Don't mess with him.
Now, keep in mind that little grandson I was just making up in my little story. He's a New York Times bestselling author, too. So which doesn't fit in all of these things? Well, it must fit because he's writing about what he knows about. His book is called Starfire. Can't wait to hear about it, and it's an honor to be able to say he's on our show. Dale Brown. Good morning, Dale. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Are you a grandpa?
I'm sort of a step grandfather.
Okay. So the scene could happen. Where are you right now?
I'm in my office in Lake Tahoe, Nevada. It's a little bit cloudy out today, a little bit cold, but I'm enjoying life. This is the best place in the world to work. I'm lucky enough to be raising a 17-year-old son and working.
That's awesome.
in the best place in the world.
Good for you. Now, when did you switch from all those things I said to being a New York Times best-selling author? When did that switch happen?
Well, I've always wanted to be a writer. I've been lucky enough to make a living at the two things I've always wanted to do, and that's fly and write. And I worked on the high school newspaper. I had a column in the Penn State University newspaper. I've always wanted to write, but I always thought I'd be writing nonfiction stuff, writing for magazines and newspapers and things like that. But flying the B-52 in the middle of the Cold War, and reading about and learning about new technology that was just coming out, the stuff that was science fiction back 30 years ago,
wow.
which was GPS and laser guided weapons and things like that. No one had ever heard of that stuff before, but I knew it was coming out. I knew people were designing it and researching it, so I decided to start writing about it as if it was really out there, really existing.
And your first book was 1987, is that correct?
1987, Flight of the Old Dog. That was every novelist's first book is a fantasy autobiography, and that's what Flight of the Old Dog was. It was a B-52 navigator. He was kind of an outcast, kind of he was an expert at what he does, but he really wasn't conforming. He wasn't a typical military guy, but he steps forward when a crisis happens. He takes control of the B-52 and saves his crew and saves the world, and that's what Flight of the Old Dog is about.
I don't know if you've ever considered acting, but you've got the good looks of a Harrison Ford. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that before.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Have you been told that before? I mean, you have that. You have that Harrison Ford look to you. I stumped him a little.
I'll give it a try. But I'm having a blast what I'm doing right now.
And I guess it's kind of a superficial question, but is that something that has happened for you? Has the movie industry taken a book and turned it into a film?
Every time a book comes out, or right before the book comes out, producers get an advanced reading copy of it, and I've been lucky enough to go down and I do all the pitch meetings, and I do the parties and the little meetings all over Hollywood, and I love the energy down there. It's always exciting. You get to meet other creative people, and they want to know all about the story, and they want to know about what I think the movie should look like, and I do all the movies. I just got back from doing a bunch of that stuff.
Oh, neat.
And you get all that energy, and I think what happens is that somebody starts to crunch the numbers about what it would cost to build the CGI sets and hire directors and writers and all this stuff. And I think the money kind of gets people down, and
all of a sudden. Yeah. Well, you know what? The theater of the mind, though, which is where we go to when we read a book, has the best CGI effects of anywhere. So because we're short on time, and I wish we had more time, is what I want to say. Give us a thumbnail sketch of the story in Starfire.
Starfire is about an arms race in space between the United States and Russia. I think we talk about terrorism and we talk about North Korea, but I think the real threat to the United States has been for a very long time and still is Russia, and we need to do something about the growing Russian military machine and Russia's plans right now to rebuild the Soviet Empire. I don't think the Soviet Union is coming back, but I think the existential reasons why Russia is doing what it's doing right now in places like Ukraine, something the United States need to do something about, and especially in space. And that's what the book is about. We're neglecting space, and I think we're doing that at our very extreme peril.
Wow. Do you blame the president for that, the current Obama?
I think our current policy, I think we made a huge mistake when we did away with the space shuttle before we had a replacement for it.
Yes, sir.
And I think we need to fix that right away. We're doing a lot with the commercial exploitation of space. I think having private companies step up to provide services for the United States, I think is wonderful. But all of that should have been in place 5 years ago before we did away with the shuttle. And I think we're we're going to pay for it if we don't do something about it.
Coming from you, it's good to hear, because we as lay people thought that and had no way to really back it up, but you do have a way to back it up. The book is called Starfire, and we've got to run, but do you have a website you can tell us about?
I sure do. www.megafortress.com, and please reach out to me at dale@airbattleforce.com, and I'm on Facebook and Twitter all over the place. So please let me know what you think about the book, and especially let me know what you think about the character of Bradley McClanahan. He's been in several books now, but this is his first book where he's the main character.
Okay.
And
Dale, thank you. We just have to run. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Larry.
A first for Crimea since its annexation by Russia, a visit by President Vladimir Putin.
He applauded Crimeans' decision, saying they're now one with Russia. Putin's visit comes as he suggested to rebel leaders here in Donetsk that they delay a vote planned for Sunday where residents will decide whether to secede from Ukraine.
Fox Radio's Jessica Gallagher in Donetsk, Ukraine. Meanwhile, at least 3 people reported dead in fighting in an eastern Ukrainian city. More rough weather could be in store for parts of the country's midsection, a day after parts of the south are slammed by storms. In southern Dallas, this witness saw 5 kids caught in a rapidly filling creek.
They were all huddled together. They were holding on to a branch. They lost their grip. And then they all broke apart and they started to float down the creek.
They were rescued by police and fire crews. And today is Military Spouse Appreciation Day. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Make your small business even smarter with ADT Security Services. Through June 1st, get $250 instant savings on select ADT business packages. Improve your operations with 24/7 burglary monitoring, remote climate and lighting control, secure real-time video, and more. So call ** ADT from your cell phone. That's ** 238. ADT. Our business is helping your business. 36-month monitoring contract required. For applicable terms and conditions, visit ADT.com. Florida EF 00011.